Welcome to Stoughton Media Access Corporation's Stoughton Conversations. Thanks for being with us. Today we have the pleasure of talking with Erdem Ural, and he is interested in running for the school committee. Welcome, Erdem.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Sure. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your interest. Now, in the past you had 2 terms on the school committee. And now you have an active interest in sort of rejoining and having some input there. So tell us a little bit about why you're interested and why you want to get back on.
Thank you. Well, I feel we are at the verge of greatness in Stoughton, because I'm so excited because we have a new high school we're going to take custody of in July. And we have a new superintendent and a academically really strong superintendent. So I'm really excited that we have those 2 things. And I'm enthusiast of Stoughton. So I think this is going to really put us on the map with our education system. And I would like to be a part of it. And my ulterior motive for having good schools is that I have 2 school-aged children. One of them is in middle school, the other one is in high school. He chose to go to Southeastern, but I'm hoping next year with all these wonderful developments, maybe I can will be able to convince him to go back to Stoughton High.
Good. So before we talk about sort of a platform that you might run on and the things you'd like to see get done, tell us a little bit about your qualifications and business and education.
Well, I'm a scientist. I have been trained as a scientist. I have a PhD degree in aerospace engineering. I am a well-known consultant in my specialty area. I serve on many committees. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a business in town. I am also an educator, so I have experience even with Stoughton School Committee. I served 2 terms, so I have 6 years of experience dealing with the educational issues, legal issues, all aspects, and the financial issues, all aspects. If I'm elected, I'll be, getting into office running. I have been in town, living in this town for about 4 decades. So I'm very familiar with a lot of people. And I have done a lot of community service in the town. And I have a proven management record.
You also have worked for quite extensively for FM Global, which is sort of a big insurance regulatory type of a business, right?
When I first got my PhD, I was a foreign student, and I came here on a scholarship from NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And I wanted to go back I'm from Turkey. I wanted to go back to Turkey and serve that country, because that was my country. But I went and looked for a job. I couldn't find anything. And then I had 3 job offers from US. One was be a professor at University of Oklahoma. The other one was working for the US Army, develop some new propellants. And then the third one was FM Global. I loved the Boston area, and I loved my job there because they would actually pay me money to blow things up.
Safely and in the right context.
To understand, so that we could protect industrial accidents.
Oh, so in order to sort of prepare for industrial accidents and what might cause them, okay.
And also I should add that because I'm a scientist, I'm running because the student achievement in science in Stoughton schools, if we have time, we'll come back to that, but has been not meeting the targets. In fact, in a lot of our schools, it has become worse in improvement. So I'm hoping with the new superintendent, he'll accept help from me, because I'm more than happy to help so that our students do better.
So one of the things that is sort of obvious if you came from Turkey is that your alignment with diversity issues. And with this, the sort of furor that's going on today about immigration, tell us a little bit about what your input would be about how do we help foreign students or immigration people in the school system?
Well, first of all, I should mention that I actively work with, in town we have a committee for diversity. And we work, not just tolerance, but including everybody. So anybody who has an interest in the subject, we welcome them to join our committee. We have done 2 wonderful activities recently. One was the international family dance, where we brought a dance instructor, international dance instructor, and live music with the help of Stoughton Cultural Council. And people came, they learned dances from Israel, from Europe, from Bulgaria. Most people didn't even know where Bulgaria was. But we just celebrate the, people are different from us, let's just celebrate that. The other event we had Tuesday, I couldn't believe we had about 150 people show up. It was a lecture about Frederick Douglass. It was the speaker was the chair of the Brockton Historical Society. We found a local African American artist. He brought his paintings. So it was a wonderful, wonderful event. But your question about how we can help foreigners, first of all, accept them the way they are, and celebrate their difference from us. So you treat them like a human being. And the kids in school, some of them have language issues, but kids, they absorb the language so fast. Within 1 year or 2 years, they become fluent in English. So I think we have a really good program in the Wilkins School. It's the old West School. Program is little, the teachers are a little strained over there. They call it ELL, English Language Learners. If I was on the school committee, I would advocate for more ELL teachers in Wilkins School, because teachers are really strained. They have too many kids, and they need more attention.
So speak a little bit to leadership and how you might impact what some have said is a credibility sort of gap. So tell me about that.
Yeah, the last 3 years, everybody in the school committee, they are wonderful people. I have no beef with them.
That's good.
But they seem to have gotten into some kind of a complacent mode. So, you know me, I have known you for a few years, and people in Stoughton know me. I speak my mind.
Yeah, you're not a complacent individual.
I'm never complacent. I don't want to really get into the credibility issues, but I can just give you a flavor for it.
Okay.
One is the approach to budgeting. Schools department takes approximately 2/3 of your tax dollars, and rightly so. I think more money for schools, hooray, because education is the great equalizer. So
yes.
Whatever we can spend on education, we should. But I would like to see a better approach to, because we are one town, so we gotta not provide for the education, but we gotta provide for police service, we gotta provide for garbage, we gotta provide for, so we gotta think about the whole town, because if we are not funding the other departments properly, then the kids get hurt at the end anyways. So in the budgeting issue, I have seen a meeting in November 27, that was a school committee meeting. They were strategizing how to do the budget. And I couldn't believe my ears because they were saying, oh, we should ask more. We shouldn't tip our cards. They trim the budget. Don't tip your cards for trimming the budget. Let them find out first. What they are offering. So it should never be like a used car sales. The budget, we should sit down with the selectmen in November or in December, get together, lay everything out, and then come up with a solution for the whole town.
Sort of you want to be more collaborative.
Yeah, more collaborative. And I heard superintendent calling the process as a rodeo. I mean, that's unacceptable talk. I hope that the new superintendent in his interview said he would like to collaborate with this. So that's why one of the reasons I'm excited about him. The other one is you heard the anti-Semitic incidences in Stoughton.
Not just Stoughton, by the way. It seems to be traveling the world.
Yeah, I think the school department handled it okay, but they have punished 2 teachers. They suspended teachers for dealing with the problem, and then it went to arbitrator. Arbitrator came back saying that that was a wrongful punishment because the teacher had a right to do that. But in the process, for 20 days suspension, the kids didn't have a teacher, so they were all put in the cafeteria with a substitute teacher. So in the end, that hurt the kids. Mm-hmm. And you heard about the high school sex scandal. Again, that was, if something like that happens in a high school, it's the principal's duty to, because she's a mandatory reporter, it's her duty to call the police and let the police investigate. Well, she didn't. She tried to investigate. The investigation was botched. And then, but the school committee, I think the school committee should have gotten involved at that stage. Instead, I couldn't believe they picked her as one of the finalists in the superintendent search. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are just the examples. I think school committee can do better because school committee always had a great credibility because the budget proposed is a school committee budget. And the town likes the schools, and whatever the budget is proposed, both the finance committee and the town meeting always funded whatever the schools wanted. But this year, there is a pushback for the budget. I hope we'll get a good budget, but so I think there is, I would love to work with the fellow school committee members, see if we can project a better image to public.
So there's this fine line, right, between agitating for change, right, and get along to get more done.
Yes.
How do you tread that line?
It would depend on, this is like I love to work with people, but if I see something not right, I have done that before. Whistleblowing is an elected official's duty. So I would love to work with all the school committee members because, as I said from the start, they are all wonderful people, and I think they all mean well. So we need to talk about what's the, whether to deal these kind of serious issues in a meeting together or just ignore them. I think ignoring them in the long run causes bigger problems because like in this case of the high school principal botching the um, investigation, the town is being sued, and she's being sued. So it's likely that we are going to pay money to settle or, as damages.
So let me use the whistleblowing topic to sort of trend over to bullying. One of the problems for young people is the sort of the sway of the group. And once one person sort of does an aggressive act, certainly in younger people especially, maybe in adults too, they all jump on. So what about bullying in the schools? What input would you be able to give for that?
The bullying is a serious issue. It's kind of hard to deal with. They have one of the reasons my son decided to go to Southeastern because he was bullied in middle school, and the principal in middle school is really great person, but he couldn't help my son. So he had a horrible time. But like you say, the kids, they try to work as a pack. It's a tough problem. It's also by setting an example. Like if you talk to teachers, especially in high school, they say they are being bullied by the administrator. So I think it's going all over the place.
So framing, by the way, people framing using bullying is a little different than bullying.
Yeah.
Right, so how you frame what is the activity or the engagement that's underway.
Actually, we have Massachusetts passed the bullying law a few years ago, so there is a legal definition. So it's not that vague anymore. You don't use that term vaguely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm wondering too, like how entrepreneurial a school should be. Like for me, as an entrepreneur here in the town, right? I instruct the people that I work with that we always create value for the end user. How could your input at the school committee help sort of achieve almost a business environment for a school in the hopes of sort of this prosperity that comes from business injected into the students at a young age?
I think, you and I had these discussions years back. I know how you think, I think. So the school, I think giving the kids the entrepreneurial spirit or mindset is very important. So the school has some programs about that. But I sort of disagree with you on some part because the school is also has a duty to give the kids, basic sort of common denominator knowledge. So, like the math, reading, writing, and basic knowledge like history and social sciences. So they are not really entrepreneurial. But we have to be really strong because, you said I teach at Worcester Polytech. They have, I teach graduate level classes. So my class is highly mathematical. So if a kid didn't have good math in high school, didn't have good math in college, he's not going to be able to make up in graduate school because math skills and the science, is something you build up on.
Very cumulative.
It's also skills, skills you learn. So you can't really, maybe in social studies you can look it up in Wikipedia, or you can read it someplace. You can make it up. Entrepreneurial skills is also the same way. It's a skill you have to learn. And it takes time, and you just can't. So I partially agree with you that it should be part of the culture.
Right,
so
let me,
how do you?
let me interrupt and shift again. When I speak to business owners and they hire kids out of schools, they routinely think that there's no common sense. what could a school system do to kind of, it's kind of an open question for you, but how do we give more sort of common sense training? And almost everyone I talk to who hires these kids say they come out of school, they have book knowledge, but they can't seem to understand the very framework for problem solving, common sense.
I think that's a great question, and actually I was thinking about it the other day. How do you teach common sense? Because common sense is important for not only the graduates, for everybody. And I was thinking about my older son who's going to Southeastern, and he seems to have more common sense maybe than even me. And I look at the
That's
kids.
Very humble of you.
I pick him up sometimes from the school bus. I see kids coming out of the Southeastern the transportation bus, and all the kids seem like adults. They have. So what is it giving them the common sense? So I don't know the answer to that, but I suspect it's having a purpose. See, each kid there has a purpose. They each have a shop. They try to learn a trade. They try to get their licenses. So I think in high school you go, you got a whole bunch of classes, and of course you want to get a good grade, but those are nebulous purposes. So maybe giving them a more defined purpose. So I don't know, and this is just my hypothesis, and I don't even know how to implement it, but it's certainly worth thinking about it.
Good. I'll give you another tough question. So,
oh my God, Steve.
No, you might as well have some fun while we're here. So another tough question is, society is starting to look at higher education as not as valuable as it used to be. And some of the things like that sort of brought this to focus recently is the scam about paying to get kids into high-end colleges. And the idea is to say, well, first of all, I think they're on a fool's errand, because I'm not sure that the high-end colleges are going to help the kids as much as they might think, especially if they're unprepared. And so this idea of like shooting for colleges when maybe the idea of getting trade knowledge specific could be very beneficial. I'll give you one example, HVAC and automobiles. You can get trade knowledge there, and you're going to use all the skills of chemistry, electronics, computers, and you have to be very skilled to do these things now. So it's not the geeks and the nerds on one side and the mechanics and the tool-oriented people on the other. Have any thoughts on blending those from an academic perspective?
Sure. But let me try to answer it two separate ways. One is, you had multiple questions in there, so let me first address, the value of college. My son decided to go to Southeastern when Bernie Sanders was running, and he kept on saying, the young generation is going to have a college debt, and then they can't even get a job with that. So that's why he decided to go to Southeastern. Going to there he did well. He got advanced on all his MCAS tests, and in SATs, reading, writing, and math, he got into top 1% across the U.S. So he got a really good education there. So now it opened him on the doors for going to any college he wants. He says, I don't want to go to Ivy League college. But to me, these name brand colleges, they are not so much for the quality of education, but in terms of getting a label on your diploma. Getting a Harvard diploma is a lot of hiring managers think is better than getting a diploma from Bridgewater State. And also the networking, because He'll be networking if he goes to a Ivy League school or another name brand school. Then he'll have friends. He'll be networking so that they can accomplish things together.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we only have a couple of minutes left. I wanted you to address, so let's say that 10 or 20% of the kids can go to those kind of a school. What about the 80%? What's your push for the 80%? And then maybe you round it out with your 3 takeaways that you'd like people to have. We only have a few minutes left.
Okay, I see it's only 2 minutes left. So to me, getting your basics that you can't do it later, like the math and the science in college, although it's maybe boring as hell, is really important, because those kind of things you can't, it's very hard to compensate later in your life. But going to an area where there are some good job prospects, good money. In fact, I read an article the other day. It was saying the English majors. We were saying, laughing at them, they don't make money. But the article was saying, the English major is really good because you can go to pre-med, you can go to law school, a lot of people can do, and most importantly, you get more enjoyment out of life because you learn to appreciate
All right.
better things.
So
in
very
life.
quickly, give me your 3 takeaways you'd like the audience to remember.
Well, the most important takeaway is vote for me.
Okay, good.
April 9th. I like all the school committee members, but I'm certainly different from them. So we need diversity, not because I am an immigrant, but because I have a background as a scientist, I have a background as an entrepreneur, and I have a background as an educator. So school committee doesn't have that. If you elect me, I will work for your best interest, and I will also work for your kids and grandkids' best interest. And we are on the verge of greatness, and I will work my hardest to make that happen.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, Erdem.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate
thanks for
this
coming in.
opportunity.
And I also want to thank the audience. Appreciate you tuning in to see us. This has been a show called Stoughton Conversations, produced by Stoughton Media Access Corporation. And we want to thank the background people, Mike Hammond and Dave Young, are out there. Thank you very much for watching.